So to understand how dataware works, it's helpful to start with how it works without dataware. The way it's been working for many, many decades now is you've got users. Users use these things called applications, and every application manages data. And that's the problem, because the concept of a customer is needed across not one application, but in fact, many, maybe even most of your applications, as a simple example. So we traditionally work around this misalignment by doing this thing called integration. We're building APIs, we're building ETLs to enable the data to be shared from an application that creates it to an application that needs to access or even modify it, which is very, very common. And this is half of the IT capacity of pretty much every company on the planet, whether you're small, mid-size, or large global enterprise. This is a huge cost. It's a tax, and traditionally you just don't have a choice. You have to integrate. But even with these applications, even with the rise of SaaS apps and low code and whatnot, there's still gaps between the apps. So business users often create desktop tool-based solutions, EUCs, or end-user computing, as some would call it, which, of course, also need to manage data. They need to access data often through downloads and uploads and manipulate and send copies back and forth as email attachments, maybe on a network share. But these are also sources of data. So every time there's a gap between an app, there's often an EUC, and some organizations will have thousands of these. And as you do analytics, because so far we've been talking about just the operational side, analytics requires the creation of either a centralized or a federated platform to, of course, push and pull data from the applications. It doesn't self-feed. Whether it's physical integrations or virtual integrations, you're still doing integrations to make it such that your analytics platform is able to access that data. And of course, if you're successful, you have to feed the insights back into the applications. Otherwise, what was the point of having insights if you can't operationalize them into your business processes? And as you grow and scale, that's a lot of lines. How do you govern that? Well, the traditional approach is you're going to add governance platforms, which of course are applications. And like any other application, they manage data and require the integration of data. So your data catalog, as an example, will integrate your metadata from all of your applications, as an example. So whether it's metadata management or master data management or information security monitoring or data governance, these are additional after the fact to basically plug the holes as they become increasingly critical. But look at this. One new business capability means more software, means more applications, which means more data, which means more integrations. And one app isn't one integration. It grows exponentially. This is a complexity nightmare. And this is using best of breed technologies where this is what a company of the future would look like. Even if they're starting from scratch, they would grow into this complexity. And that's the old app-centric way of thinking. And that's been true since really the early days of software, where dataware reimagines this to be much simpler. It enables a company in the future, just like a company today can be born on the cloud and not need physical servers that are dedicated to their own organization. In the future, companies will be able to be born on dataware, where they can have applications, whether they buy or build them. These apps don't manage data. They collaborate on data. And by collaborating, you don't need integration. They'll also have a direct interface into the data to see it, to discover it, to query it, to change it, to create, to originate it via a dynamic metadata-driven data browser. This is a much simpler future, and there's an inevitability to this with the introduction of dataware. The only question that is then left, now that this is beyond theoretically possible, but it's practical and even simple for a new organization, is, well, what about organizations that already look like the left? Is there a path that allows them to iteratively move from the left to the right? And the short answer is yes.